I want to pass something along to you that I've learned about a dominion rest. But before we get to that, I want us to touch up on what we've learned from when we were all younger. We have heard of the day of rest, which is what we call the Sabbath. And we know many of us celebrate this on Sundays. But the Sabbath is the day of rest, and we know that this day is set aside for rest. It's set aside for our emotional well-being, our physical well-being, our mental well-being, and our spiritual well-being also. And we know in the book of Matthew, Jesus said, he said, "Come to me." And he said, "I will give you rest." We're pretty good at knowing the Sabbath rest and understanding the Sabbath rest, but I want to teach you or pass something along to you that the Lord taught me, or the Lord began to speak into my spirit, and it's called a dominion rest. This is what the Lord taught me. The Sabbath day of rest, we know, is a time of rest. But the dominion rest, what this is a place of rest. This dominion rest is your personal promised land. It's the inheritance that the Lord has given you. It's what God has breathed deep down on the inside of you. Your dominion rest is where you belong. Have we all not searched for our place that we belong from time to time, or may even now? Sometimes we finish with one assignment that the Lord has given us, and we're looking for the next assignment that the Lord has given us. We're looking for our place of rest. So when we find that place of rest, we have our security, we have our comfort in finding the place of rest, our belonging that the Lord has for us. You see, when we find that place of rest, a lot of times we're stopped from entering the place of rest for fear. Fear often stops us from walking out our place of rest, walking out that dominion rest, because fear often pushes us around. Fear often causes us to become restless on the inside of us. You see, when we become restless, we become full of anxiety. We become full of doubt. Depression begins to blanket over us. When fear begins to push us around, maybe we even feel like we're loaded with a little bit of shame, and there's so many more things and so much more baggage that comes along with fear. And you see, when we're restless, we begin to find ourselves wandering around. When we're restless, we begin to search for our purpose. Does this remind you of someone else that we've seen in the Bible? Perhaps maybe the children of Israel. Were they not restless? Were they not searching for their place? When they were restless, they began to walk out and map out the promised land in their way. And when they begin to walk it out their way, they begin to extend their stay. They begin to be lost. There begin to be confusion in their life. And many of the ones that were in that group of the children of Israel at that time, because they could not find their place and because they were restless, they knew where they were supposed to go. But because they were restless, can I tell you, many of those, they begin to miss their place. They begin to miss their purpose. They miss the dominion rest that was what was on the inside of them. Can I tell you, I want to remind you what the Lord said in the book of Matthew. He said, "Come to me. Come to me, and I will give you rest." You see, there is a time of rest, and there is a place of rest. And when you find that purpose, when you find that belonging, the place that God is pointing to plant you and for you to place roots in that place, you have found your dominion rest. See, God's given us a physical rest. That's on the Sabbath. And when we begin to partake of the physical rest, it gives us a sense of spiritual warfare, which is called what we will need for our dominion rest, which is where we will rise up. We rise up and we begin to possess what God has breathed, what He has placed on the inside of you. You begin to rise up and you begin to walk out those God-given dreams that He's put on the inside of you. But you begin to walk out those visions. You begin to walk out those whispers that God has placed on the inside of you. And maybe even those little nudges that He's been trying to push you and He's been trying to propel you. And remember, faith will always propel you, and your fear will always stop you. So I want to tell you today, if you're listening to this, you've been looking for your place of rest. You've been looking for your rest. You've been restless long enough. I want to tell you, I believe God is saying to you today, hey, I've already spoken. I've already nudged you. I've already given you that whisper. Maybe that fear is stopping you from stepping out to find your dominion rest. Come on. Let's give up the restlessness and let's rest in the arms of Jesus. Let's rest in the purpose that He has called us to be. Let's rest in the assignment that He has given to each and every one of us for a specific reason. Hey, I hope you grab hold of your dominion rest, and I surely hope that you enjoy your Sabbath day of rest. I know my husband and I, we enjoy that day of rest. Whenever your day of rest is, I know some of us has to work on Sunday. Some of us has a different Sabbath day of rest. But He says, come to me and I'll give you rest. It's an inheritance that the Lord has given you. So claim the rest that the Lord has given you. And always, let's say, come on, let's go Jesus. Let's go Jesus.